In this video, I'm going to be talking about some of my recent book pickups. I got a gift card for my birthday last year from my aunt, thank you Aunt Rochelle, to Barnes & Noble, and I just found the time to be able to use it. I got some books that inspired me to get some more that I could find for cheaper on my own, and I thought that I'd share with you what I'm going to be reading and what I am currently reading. So, let's get started. From that Barnes & Noble haul, Ernest Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises. When I was in school, I read The Old Man and the Sea. That never really clicked with me. I never enjoyed his style of writing. I never found it like, wow, this is a great book. But Hunter S. Thompson, Joan Didion, a bunch of famous writers have said that they've just copied his style of writing and have found him to be the best writer ever. And so I was like, I'll give him another try. And this is what I am currently reading. I am about halfway through this book. And I can't say that my opinion has changed much on this book, The Sun Also Rises. It's not really interesting. I don't find it a beautiful book. I find some parts to be like, oh, that was a good sentence. But in general, I don't find his prose to be that great or inspirational, so I can't really say that I see where a lot of writers find their inspiration from Hemingway. But I'm continuing to read it. I just don't find that it has much substance at all. So, currently in this, continuing on with the books that I got from Barnes & Noble, which is incredibly expensive to buy new books, crying out loud. I mean, I think that books are incredible, and obviously if you're an author, you should make money off of your work, but goodness, I can only get 4 books for $50. It's insane. What I talk about when I talk about Running by Haruki Murakami. I listened to about half of this book on audiobook and then decided to stop because I just wanted to read it in paperback form. It's his Haruki Murakami, which I didn't know, and after doing a little bit of research, I know a little bit more about him. He's apparently a very famous writer from Japan who does a lot of fictional books and kind of compiling of short story type books. And this is one of his only nonfiction books where he is training for a marathon, the New York City Marathon. Yes, New York City Marathon. And he's discussing kind of the pain of trying to train for a physically taxing experience. And as a writer, especially trying to kind of navigate that. And so from what I remember of the audiobook, very good. I'm excited to read this again from front to back just because I really liked his writing style, and then possibly delve more into his fictional side. I find that I really don't read that much fiction for reasons, obviously. But yes, I picked this up, excited to read it again. Next, from that same pickup, I got The Complete Stories by Kafka. Franz Kafka, his life is a mess, a very big mess, and very depressing, his whole life. In school, I read The Metamorphosis, which I really enjoyed, and then doing more research into him and just seeing this on the shelf, I was like, man, I've got to read this. I've got to read more of his stories, more of his short stories, see what more there is other than just a story about a man who turns into a bug one day and his family hates him. So, yeah, very interested to read. I haven't done any reading in this because I'm trying to get through one book first, but yeah, very interested in reading more Kafka. See what comes of that. The last book from my Barnes & Noble pickup is Lust for Life, a classical biographical novel of Vincent van Gogh. This was written in the 1930s, yeah. And it's a embellishment on the story of Van Gogh's life. I find him to be an incredible artist, obviously, one who is troubled, as many artists are, and I don't know a lot about his life. Obviously, he's famous for cutting off his own ear, and I'm interested to see where this author took his life and how they displayed his life, and to know more about him. So this pulled at me from the shelf with that illustration on the side. I know nothing of this book, just know that I'd like to know a little bit more about Van Gogh, and I'm excited to read it. So those are all of the books that I got from Barnes & Noble, 4 books, but then that led me down the process of getting more books. I started listening to Ryan Holiday, who is a prolific reader, I would say. He reads so much, he reads a ton, and kind of listening to some of his books that he recommended, I went down the path of getting more books, and through that process, I found a new love and remembered a love for a author that I read many years ago, Donald Miller. I read both of these books, Blue Like Jazz and Through Painted Deserts. I thought that I had these, but I didn't, so I repurchased these to have on my shelf so I could reread them. These are really good books. He reminds me of Hunter S. Thompson with his writing style, but just not as crazy, because he's a Christian and because he has he writes like a hippie. He writes like someone who was kind of part of that generation of like the Beat generation, but he's a Christian, so it's much more uplifting and not like drug stories, basically. So Blue Like Jazz and Through Painted Deserts are both incredible. Then I found out that he had written many more books, so I got A Million Miles in 1,000 Years by him, and Searching for God Knows What by him, Prayer and the Art of Volkswagen Maintenance by him, and Father Fiction by him, which is him, Donald Miller. Very interested to read all these. I remember him being a very quick and just easy read, not in the sense that he, like the things that he was talking about was easy, but he's a very fun read. So these I will get through very quickly. The books that I was inspired to get from Ryan Holiday, and honestly I've heard of these before, especially working at Amazon. I would come across these 2 books all of the time, but I've just never read them, and I thought it's about time that I read them, figure out what they're all about, see if they're actually as great as people say or not. So I got Meditations by Marcus Aurelius and 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. These are definitely more like self-help books. This is obviously like a classical, old self-help book. Kind of, I don't know, philosophy, stoicism. You hear that thrown around all the time, but this is like a self-help, I guess kind of a philosophy book. But yeah, I don't know a bunch about them, but I feel like I hear them mentioned, and I feel like smart people read these books, so I'll give them a try. And then Inspired by Ryan Holiday as well, Asylum by William Seabrook. It is a story of a man who is an alcoholic, who goes to a mental institution, because that's what you do when it is in the 1930s. It is deemed a mental illness to be an alcoholic, and so he goes to a mental hospital and documents his life there. So this will be a interesting but difficult read, probably be at the back of all of these books. So that has been my book pickup. Thought that'd be interesting to share with you what I am reading, what I am looking forward to reading, and see what you all are reading. See how everybody thinks about books. You like them? I do, obviously. Got a whole shelf of them. So drop some of your recommendations down below if you like this video and want to hear more about, possibly in the future, the books that I'm reading, or what I even think about the books after I read them. Let me know. If not, that's okay. Have a good day, and I'll see you in next week's video. Whoosh.